Good Monday, everybody. I hope everybody had a great weekend, and we are ready for week 9. Means we're getting super close to the end. We're going to take a look, of course, at what's going on this week. Nothing crazy this week, I don't believe. We are still working on the Founding Fathers era, which is really fun. I have started my studying of the soundtrack for Hamilton, because on the 29th I'm going to see Hamilton finally after all this time, and so I'm trying to study up, get my lyrics down, so that I know what's going on. But what a timely time for me to be going to see Hamilton. I can talk when we're right here in the Founding Fathers era. So let's take a look at what we've got going on this week and where we are headed. As usual, I just want to look at the course calendar first. Just as some reminders, we are in module 3, so we've actually kind of a little bit left behind the Founding Fathers, and Mr. Hamilton included, but we are moving into some other great American thinkers with Emerson and Thoreau. So that's what's on tap for this week. And then next week, we're going to be talking, just presenting our findings with the American Foundations quiz, and all that good stuff. So that'll kind of bring us to the end of module 3. So this week is the paper, and then next week is the quiz. So that's where we are. So no real new readings after this week for this particular unit. It's just it's a fairly short one. So let's look at the module, and we are in the middle of it, second of 3 weeks, and your paper is the main goal this week. So let's take a look at the paper assignment. In this module, of course, we have read from the founding documents that created the United States, and we've heard from the great American transcendentalists Emerson and Thoreau. That's who you're reading this week. For this paper, choose 1 to 3 primary sources from our readings and use them to support a discussion of how they relate to traits still visible in the U.S. today. You will also include secondary research. This can be on the documents themselves or on the traits in the U.S. you are exploring. So your requirements are very familiar. Hopefully it should be very familiar. MLA format documentation. The essay itself should be at least 3 full pages. Of course, the primary sources are going to come from the readings, our readings, and you can choose 1, 2, or 3. You don't have to just choose one. Some people prefer to focus in on one. Maybe you're really into the Declaration of Independence and that's where you want to focus. That's absolutely fine. So it's up to you, but you can choose between 1 and 3. All secondary research, of course, should be sound from the library materials. And then, of course, you can also do any tertiary sources that you need to, or reference type sources, but I would not use Wikipedia as usual. So as I did the last time, I've got some things here that will hopefully inspire you. This one is the top 5 traits of the ideal America. And so what you're going to organize your paper around traits, and then use the primary and secondary and tertiary or reference research to show where it started and where it is today. So independence obviously is a big one. The Declaration has the independence word in its name. Opportunity is another big one. Innovation, diversity, maybe not as heavily evident in the early days. However, when we really go back and look at it, there were already, there was already some diversity in the early days as well. And then generosity. I don't know if I would buy that, but it's a nice thought. So feel free to use those traits as your goals here, but there are certainly others. This one is from study.com. It talks about American cultural things, which is kind of a fun way of looking at it. Eye contact, which is an interesting one, but here we have some. You don't have access to all of them, but there's some on here that are helpful. Independence, privacy, equality, timeliness, informality, achievement, directness, and of course that last one, we can't read the descriptor as well, but it says future orientation. So the idea that Americans are constantly believing in a better future. And that is something that you see a lot. Anyway, Cora, we have some, what are the good qualities of the United States, which I think is a kind of interesting way of asking it, because there, of course, are some not so great things. But this one I thought was really interesting. The national parks or the U.S. Postal Service, some of the things that you could write about have to do with things that currently exist, and maybe go back and trace where they came from. That could be really a fun way to look at it as well. So kind of sky's the limit here. The next one focuses on American values, and there are, what, 13 that they give us here, from last to first: materialism, or the need to acquire, the idea that if you work hard, you will have things. And that's an interesting one. Practicality or efficiency, directness, openness, and honesty. Informality. We really are more of an informal country than a lot of places. Action and work orientation, future orientation. We saw that in another one, with the idea of optimism, the idea that the future is going to be brighter. Some days it doesn't look like that, but that's definitely an American value. Competition, free enterprise, big ones with our capitalist system. Self-help, which is kind of fun. Individualism, independence, and privacy. Those are big ones. Equality, egalitarianism, time, the importance of time, change or mobility, the idea that in America, we don't have the same rigid class system as they do in Great Britain, for example. The idea that you can move up in the world. And then in the first one here, they talk about is, of course, personal control over the environment, which is kind of an interesting one. And then last but not least, we have from the University of Michigan, 101 characteristics of Americans and American culture. I am certainly not going to read those to you, but there's a lot of really cool ones that you could focus on that would go back, that you could trace back to the early days. Rugged individualism. I just saw one that kind of reminded me of that. Where was it? I scrolled too fast. It was something that mentioned 911. Like, if it's one of the things we kind of believe in America is that somebody has got to be dying or on the verge of death. Otherwise, it's not considered an emergency. And the idea, well, there's one. This is a different one. This wasn't the one that I saw, but never go to a hospital emergency room unless it is a matter of life and death. We have that idea in America that we should take care of ourselves. It just kind of, I don't know, it's a fun one. So have some fun with the paper, very much like the drama and culture paper. These are fun for me to read. I know they may not be as fun for you to write. They're definitely fun for me to read, because it's something interesting and I enjoy, hearing your take on it. So anyway, those are your inspirations. Read Emerson and Thoreau before you make a final decision as far as what you want to cover, because the individualism and that kind of stuff really gets highlighted in Emerson and Thoreau. Also nature. Thoreau was big about nature. So anyway, lots of cool stuff there. If you need help, let me know. I'm here. So we will chat this week, but in the meantime, enjoy some transcendentalism, and I will talk to you for sure next Monday.